This is one that always gets me in trouble, but this is the message that I am, that basically I'm supposed to be telling everybody, and this is the one that I get beaten up on a lot. And that is who Israel is and who the Canadian people are, the American people are, the original ones that set up the Constitution and started the countries that we now are very privileged to live in. I started this journey by looking at my own heritage. And it was just kind of a funny way that happened because I am O negative. And when a few years ago, I guess back in about 2015, I started watching on the internet. I was looking at different sites, Christian sites and that, and I was hearing people saying that Rh negative are Nephilim, they're evil, and it was like, what? And this was really common. It went on all over the place, and I even saw one that was from the Black Israelites saying that they were this guy's walking around with a sword and everything, saying that he was going to decapitate us. Because we were like the Nephilim, and if you don't know what that is, that means that you are part demon, part human, and you were part of the fallen angels' children that corrupted mankind. And I've always been the kind of person that is uber generous, and I have to turn my feelings back in caring about other people to be able to care about myself. And most Rh negative I've found, because I started looking at all of the different sites. I started doing surveys and on dozens and dozens of Rh negative sites, and started to figure out who were these people. Because I knew I wasn't evil. I knew that I was always going to stand in front of it to protect somebody else. I'm just like that. I will. And I am a very vocal person for wrongdoing. I will stand up for anybody who is in trouble. Like, I just have that nature in me. And I'm very holistic. And, the things that they were saying was just completely opposite of my own personality. And then I'm looking at all the different Rh negative, and they're the same personality. The O negatives seem to be almost clones of the same person, and they have the most gifts. They have the most spiritual gifts. They have the most, they usually are the higher intelligence. And then there's different ones. AB seems to be, well, we know that was, and they come out again, reedifying it, that AB negative is what was on the Shroud of Turin. And it is believed by the world that this was the shroud that was Jesus's burial cloth. Okay, so that was AB negative. And what is this negative? Oh, does that make us bad? They shouldn't even say that. You should just say you are Rh positive, and we don't have that. It's not a negative. It's not like we've had anything taken away from us. It's that we don't have it added. And that's what I started finding when I was looking at just looking at blood and anthropology and DNA, and going back as I started looking into Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon and how far back, because they keep on saying that it just appears Rh negative. And then I started looking, and no, that's not true whatsoever. It is the founding blood. O negative is the original blood. It's just a blood cell. It is the original blood cell. It is a blood cell. And then everything else goes on that blood cell. So you get all your antigens, like the A and the B, or the AB, are antigens that sit on the red blood cell. And then the Rh factor, which is, they've said, is rhesus factor, monkey factor. You can argue with the scientists on that. Some say it is, some say it isn't. That seems like that's the breeding part of it. I'm just saying that is the breeding part of it. If you've got the monkey gene in you, you are the added. And from what anthropology shows, O negative was the original. Some will say that it was A negative. So, but that is very disputed, because really, does an antigen come before a blood cell? So we'll still go with it. And many papers do say that O negative. In other words, no antigen, nothing came from the beginning. And then everything was added, if you want to say evolution, or genetic manipulation, whatever it was. There was a time when the hominids, so now let's go back to this. This is what I found in anthropology. And then went on for, that's all they found. They cannot test an antigen on an old sample, so they just can't, for one thing. So we get even about, I don't know. I think it's about 3,000 or 4,000 years they cannot test antigen. So from that point on, I had with ChatGPT, we had this conversation about it's very likely there weren't antigens from a certain point on, and then they were added. Okay, and if you are Rh negative, you most likely have ancestors that come from the Basque area, which is or from Scotland and Ireland. It's very, very strong there. So and it's European. And even if the ones who are of mixed race that have that, they still can trace their ancestry back to the same thing, okay? So basically, it is just the beginning of the original humans, the small remnant at the point of in Noah's time, when there was only a small remnant of people, because everybody had been mixed and had this monkey gene added to them, which was basically just they were being manipulated. Their genes were being manipulated to be more human. Okay, so they were added, the human O negative blood was added to different, and it's talked about in the Sumerian texts, this exact thing about how they started manipulating, trying to create a slave race. That's what it talks about in the Sumerian text, which is older than the Bible, and that's where Babylon had their myths from. And like I said, I started learning all of this stuff, right? I started learning all of this stuff about blood type and how these people were to keep separated. They were not to mix, like the ones that weren't mixed. So the pure race, the ones that, if you want to go through the Bible and you want to say the ones, the Israelites, they were not, if you read through the Old Testament, they were not to have nothing to do. And matter of fact, it got to the point that some of these mixed that had, and we don't know how many of them were and how odd they were. All we know is the stories that we read in the Bible about them being different, even looks. And we look at the statues and that. Some of them have dog heads, some of them are bird heads, or what, lion, half human. Seems like there was a lot of experimenting that actually went on that made all these chimeras. And then there was the ones that were similar to the original people, the Israelites, the O negative people. And that spread out. Like I said, you'll find that it's only a small remnant. I know it says about 12% on the internet, but it's actually a lot lower than that now. It's probably about 7% that are Rh negative. And one of the things that most people, just put this thought in your head. Every human being on this, I can save your life. I am your lifesaver if you need blood. My blood is safe for you to take, being O negative, unless you have some weird thing that is really, truly genetically modified problems. And there are cases, but on a whole, this is the case. But I can't take yours. Yours will kill me. And the reason is I'm pure. It's even, if you go looking for the purest blood, they'll say O negative on, no matter where you search. It's the most purest blood, right? Even they did a joke about that in True Blood, if you ever watched that show, that everybody only wanted O negative because there wasn't any junk in it. Okay, so I know that there's a lot on TikTok that's talking about them being fallen angels, them being star seeds and all of that. These people have watched other people's videos, and that's it. They've not researched themselves into the things that I'm talking about. So along the line of looking for Rh negative, I'm looking at my ancestry now, because my uncles told me, my grandmother, told us that we come from a line of royals, and that we were exiled her father or her grandfather, I can't remember right now, was exiled. And so my nephews, my uncles,